Hello, Internet. I am Leko, and this is Riven, the sequel to Myst. It doesn't actually say as much on the start screen here, but that's what it is. I do not have to run a virtual machine this time, because the Steam version, there's an emulator you can download for the engine that it will run, and it works amazingly well. I don't have it open. I forgot what it was called. It's like a version of the Scum engine, like the LucasArts games used, and apparently they used it for the later games in the Myst series too. Apparently, so I can just run the Steam version in that, and yeah. I don't have to go through a whole bunch of shenanigans just to get the game running in a way that I can capture it. And there's also the advantage of I don't have to keep constantly switching between 5 discs as the game goes along. Because, like I said at the end of my Myst Let's Play, there's 5 discs in this game. If you have the CD version and you have it installed, well, it doesn't really install, it mostly runs from the disc. And, it's not, which disc you're using is not tied to the progression of the game, it's where you are in the game, like, where you are currently located. Like there's like a bunch of different islands, and depending on which island you're on, it will ask for that disc. So you might start on disc 1 and find your way to another island, and then suddenly it'll say, load disc 3. And then you might go to another island from there, and it'll say, load disc 5. So it's not like, you play like a certain amount into the story, and then it's like, okay, next disc. So it's kind of a pain in the ass, especially if you are exploring and don't fully know what you're doing, because if you backtrack to a previous island, it will tell you to load that disc again. So, you could end up accidentally transitioning to a new area that you didn't mean to go to, and then it won't let you do anything until you load that disc in, and then you realize you have to go back right away anyway, so you'll have to switch the disc back right away, and it's just a whole big thing that I don't have to do because this is the Steam version, and all the discs worth of data is installed on my computer. I don't know exactly how much it is, but I'm pretty sure these older 90s, early 2000s games didn't amount to much more than a gigabyte at most. So, yeah, there's a lot I like about Riven, and a lot that I don't like. Like, it's kind of hard to describe. The environments are absolutely beautiful. Like, multiply Myst by 1,000, and that's how much better everything in Riven looks. Because Myst was kind of a little bit sort of experimental, I guess, like in the way that it feels like it was designed, and Riven is more cohesive. Like, for one thing, 90% of the game takes place in one world. There's a couple times where you go to a different world, but there's like 2, I think, total in the entire game. No, 3. There's 3. But most of it is in Riven. Fittingly enough, that's the title of the game. Anyway, but it's, it feels a lot more well put together than Myst did. Like, you'll see a lot of, like, smoother transitions. It's not just click and then suddenly it's a new screen, click, suddenly it's a new screen. There's transitions between them. And the animation and the FMV is a lot more smoothly integrated into the environments that you see. It is still point and click. It is still like probably 99% pre-rendered stuff and FMVs, but it just looks so much better that you could be forgiven for forgetting that it's the same series, that this is, like, they had to remind you that this is the sequel to Myst. So, I'm gonna start a new game. There's some story right at the start, because if you will recall, at the end of Myst, we brought Atrus a page to his Myst book that allowed him to go back to Myst and deal with Cirrus and Achenar, his sons, who had betrayed him and trapped him in a collapsed chamber in the age of Dunny, where they were originally from. And because they took a page out of his Myst book before he went there, he couldn't get back. So we brought that page back to him. He went back and destroyed the books that they were trapped in, and then he went back to writing a book. That book was Riven. He was trying to figure out how to get to the place where we're about to go. So we're going to start with a little bit of a intro cutscene that actually the first Myst should have had. I don't know why it didn't play, but there's maybe it's not in the Windows version, but there should have been a very short cutscene introducing us to Myst. But it's basically Atrus falls into a dimensional kind of hole sort of thing, and he uses his Myst book to get out of it, but the book doesn't go with him, and then it falls, and then, presumably that's how we got our hands on it, and accidentally went to Myst. So wherever we were when we found that Myst book, that's where that particular book still is, and I think that's a plot point in the spin-off series Uru, but I've only played about 5 minutes of Uru, so I'm not entirely sure if that's what that is, what that was implied by what I saw when I did play a little bit of Uru. I don't know if I'm going to play Uru. I'm not sure what that's all about. I'll have to look into that, but I'm doing the main Myst series right now. So let's see what Atrus has to say in this introduction. Well, I guess first we'll see the developer intros and logos first, and then we'll see what Atrus has to say. Cyan Worlds. Or maybe they were just still Cyan at this time. Yeah, they were just Cyan still. Eventually they changed their name to Cyan Worlds. I don't know when they got with Ubisoft, but I think Ubisoft is part of the re-release for the Steam version of Riven. There's Atrus.
Thank God you've returned. I need your help. There's a great
I didn't even
history
go anywhere.
that you should know. But I'm afraid that I must continue my writing. Here. Most of what you'll need to know is in there. Keep it well hidden. For reasons you'll discover, I can't send you to Riven with a way out. But I can give you this. It appears to be a linking book back here to Dunny. But it's actually a one-man prison. You'll need it, I'm afraid, to capture Gehn. Once you've found Catherine, signal me, and I'll come with a linking book to bring us back. There's also a chance, if this all goes well, that I might be able to get you back to the place that you came from.
Okay, that was abrupt. There's a little bit more cutscene here, so, but there's no, like, a guy's gonna show up and he's gonna talk to us in a language that we don't understand, so I can just kind of talk over this. So, Atrus, at the end of Myst, he mentioned that his wife Catherine is currently being held hostage in Riven. I don't know if he specified that Gehn was the one holding her hostage, but Gehn is Atrus' father, and you can kind of see where Atrus or Cirrus and Achenar got their god complexes from, because it's absolutely rampant in here what Gehn has done to this age. So this guy wants the book that we brought, and he's gonna take it, and this is a problem. Oh. And someone's gonna hit him with a dart. And they're gonna take the book after they drag him away. There's a lot more story here in this game. That's one of the things I like about it. There's so much more, like, backstory and lore that you learn. Yep, there's the other guy who shot the other guy with the dart. He's taken the book, and he's going to let us out. Or she, I guess it could be a woman. They're all masked up so we can't see who it is. Okay. And now we have control. So let's step out of this cage that Gehn helpfully left here to trap anyone who came after him. Because I guess when you travel to an age through a linking book, you always end up in the same place. So Gehn was like, I don't want people following me without knowing who's coming in, who's, you know, sneaking around in my world, so I'm gonna put this cage here. So if anybody does show up, I can talk to them first and figure out why they're here and who sent them and all that. Because he's kind of aware that Atrus is still out there, because Atrus trapped Gehn here in the first place. And that's actually why the Myst linking book ended up in our hands in Myst. Because Atrus jumped into a very big hole that's like, it's kind of spoilery to talk about it, so I don't want to get like too in-depth about it, but that was how Atrus trapped Gehn here. There's some conflict there, but now somehow Catherine came here, or was brought here somehow. I don't quite understand how that came about. Maybe we'll learn. But yeah, we're just gonna... This thing here currently serves absolutely no purpose. There's a code to open it. That code is randomized. So we could theoretically guess it and do some very near endgame stuff right now, but it's the code is written in a journal that you find much later into the game. So Atrus gave us this little notebook, and it's basically, while he was trapped in the chamber, he's been writing, trying to fix a book to Riven so he could come after Catherine and rescue her. But he doesn't want to bring a Myst book with him, because if Gehn gets a hold of it, Gehn could get out. And Atrus is like, I don't want that to happen, because that would undo the whole point of trapping him here in the first place. So that's why he sent us here without a Myst book. So once we trap Gehn in the trap book that he gave us, which is like the red and blue books that were on Myst. So our basically we have 3 goals to accomplish in this game. We have to capture Gehn, we have to rescue Catherine, and we have to find a way to signal to Atrus that we have done these things, so he can come in with the Myst book and get us out of there. Or I guess it's not necessarily a Myst book, but a book to somewhere else to get us out of here. Because this age is kind of falling apart, it's a little bit unstable. So there's kind of a... like, it's not a time-based mechanic or anything. Like, we have as long as we want to explore and figure everything out. But story-wise, there is a little bit of what's the... like, a little bit of a sense of urgency. So, ooh, that's a big old dome. So yeah, we're just kind of thrown in here without a lot of background information aside from the 3 things that Atrus wants us to do. We look down here, there's that guy who stole our book. So yeah, Atrus gave us this little book, and it's basically he's talking about like the problems he had while trying to figure out how to get here, and he made some corrections to the book to kind of hold the world together for a little bit. And he's saying that they're kind of not working anymore, so things are starting to fall apart again. So he's trying to fix it and make some new corrections that will hold it together a little bit longer, long enough for us to get in, do the things he told us to do, and get out. So he's basically kind of talking about all the stuff that he's been keeping track of and monitoring the deterioration of this world. And then he sees, yeah, it's my corrections are working a little bit, my monitoring instruments are better. I think this is actually before he got trapped in that chamber. Because in the re-release of Myst, they actually added another age that you can go to afterward. I think it's the Rime age. It's an island. And Atrus kind of has like a little office there where he does his writing, and he has a little like scope thing that lets him look at some of the ages that he's written. And he's been using one of them to monitor Riven and make sure that things don't get out of hand there. And he uses it to keep track of Gehn, because he wants Gehn to stay trapped, because Gehn is a very bad man. He didn't create Riven. Yeah, so part of the challenge that Atrus has is making corrections and fixing a world that he didn't write. And yeah, he talks about figuring out a way to rescue Catherine without letting Gehn out also. I haven't seen him in over 30 years, but his history forces me to assume that he is still a threat. His myopic mission to restore the Dunny civilization has left too many innocent cultures dying in its wake, and will continue to do so were he to once again be free of the confines of Riven, or the Fifth Age, as he coldly titled it. So, yeah, Atrus and his family are kind of the last remnants of a dying civilization, and Gehn wants to restore it. That's a noble goal, but the way he's going about it is kind of not okay, because, like Atrus says, he's been writing these worlds and just conquering them, and not even naming the ones that he writes. So he refers to Riven as the Fifth Age. So everybody else calls it, whoever named it Riven, they named it. But again, it was just like, yeah, it's the 5th one, number 5. And, Gehn does that for all the ages that he's written. So the universe has been safe from his corruptive influence for the last 33 years because no one has been able to leave that age. The last linking book out of Riven has been lost in the Star Fissure. So the Starfisher is that dimensional hole that I was talking about. So Atrus jumped in, used his Myst-linking book, and the Myst book just fell off into oblivion before it ended up in our hands, in our modern-day world. That was my intention, to maroon my father on Riven by removing all existing links to other worlds. And since the art of constructing books had long been lost with the fall of Dunny, he would be trapped there for the remainder of his lifetime and effectively segregated from the countless other worlds that he would have invaded. And let's see. Incident faded from memory. Gehn's destructive path cannot be allowed to continue. Yeah, Atrus is kind of it does kind of suck for the people who still live in Riven, because, Gehn is pretty much established himself as the god of this world, so everybody has to worship him. And Atrus is it sucks that I had to trap him there, but it's for the greater good of all of the other worlds that Gehn would have destroyed. To dwell in the past is to die in the past. The situation is not the same as it was then. The knowledge I've acquired in the years since that time has yet to be applied to this problem. Atrus says he has a solution. A prison book. Many years ago, during a hunting expedition through the ruins of Dunny, I chanced upon a formula for a most unusual type of book. Unfortunately, due to the fact that my father was then in the habit of confiscating my discoveries, I was forced to leave it behind. Years later, however, as part of my efforts to protect the vulnerable worlds linked to the books in my library, I was pleased to find that I could still recall most of the formula, and with a little experimentation, quickly succeeded in creating one of these devices myself. The procedure is actually quite simple. By altering key lines of text, but slightly, a normal linking book's connection can be partially severed, such that anyone who attempts to use the book will be permanently trapped in the dark void of the link. That is, unless someone else then uses the book, at which point that person would become trapped and the first person be displaced back into the world. So yeah, that's what he did for the red and blue books that were on Myst, and that's what he did to the fake Dunny book that he gave us, that has now been stolen. So actually there's 4 things we have to do. We have to get the book back, then trap Gehn, then rescue Catherine, then signal Atrus. But yeah, they actually retcon this in Myst 4, because he says here that they're trapped in a void, and in Myst 4 we find out that the red and blue books at least had actual worlds where Cirrus and Achenar were trapped, and where they lived for however long they were trapped in them. So I don't know how that meshes with the ending of Myst, where you help one of them and get trapped in the book yourself. It's a real major retcon that they did, but it's actually important to remember that if somebody else uses the book, they go in, and whoever's trapped in there comes back out. So, like Atrus said at the beginning, it's a one-man prison. The technique can be applied to books that have already been written, changes to the original text being so slight that anyone who is unfamiliar with the code will be unable to detect them. Okay, if indeed my father has not changed, what better bait could there be than a book that appeared to link back here to Dunny? Tremors have begun, so Riven is starting to fall apart again, so Atrus has to kind of step up his game on fixing things. He's just trying to hold the world together long enough to get Catherine out. If it was up to him and Catherine wasn't there, he would probably just let it fall apart and let Gehn go wherever Gehn goes after the world collapses. The damage to the understructure is more extensive than I realized. Can't go to Riven as planned. Deterioration is accelerating. Collapse is imminent. Unless I can keep ahead, but that is becoming increasingly difficult to do. Chaos that is my father's economy is used. Yeah, so Atrus basically just keeps going back and forth on Riven's collapsing, gotta fix it. The things I fixed are broken again, gotta fix it again. And then this last entry is the end of Myst. Something truly miraculous has happened beyond all conceivable probability. Someone has finally found my lost Myst linking book, and has freed me from this prison. I immediately realized this could be the solution to my dilemma, and I believe this mysterious benefactor is willing to assist me. He's talking about us. Me, you, the player, whoever you are if you're playing this game. I'm still not sure if it can work. The logistics of such a scheme are formidable, but the mere fact that it may be possible for me to continue my repairs to Riven, and yet proceed with my original intent to find Catherine, has given me renewed hope. And yeah, linking book to Riven, don't want to do that. Gateway image makes use of a visual, blah blah blah. He goes into a lot of technical mumbo-jumbo about how this stuff works. Signal. Sending someone to Riven means that once I receive the signal that they were ready to return, I would have to leave my writing in order to take a real linking book there myself. However, provided my father was safely out of the way, this should take very little time. After that, assuming the island does not incur much damage in my absence, it should then be a relatively simple matter to hold it together long enough for Catherine to return to Riven and evacuate the remaining islanders. Okay, I was like having a brain fart there because like, why would you go back to Riven? But yeah, there are people living there, and of course Catherine would want to save it because she's a very nice lady. Predetermining a signal without knowing the topography of the island may prove to be impossible, but I'm afraid there can be only one answer to the question of whether or not I should send my friend to Riven with a way out. The potential for failure will be greatly diminished if the prison book is all that is taken there. I'm sure my father is expecting me to bring a linking book to Riven. May he not be disappointed. Okay. So, yeah. This is a not all together, well put together plan of Atrus's, because for one thing, we don't know anything about this world or any of these islands that we've been sent to. So maybe he's counting on Catherine to have some kind of a way to send him a signal, or I don't know. But yeah, like he says, without knowing what the island is like, there's not really much we can do except explore. Okay, got a locked door there. Presumably we'll find a key at some point. But yeah, now that we've... oh, I can just go under the door. Okay, well let's... hold on a second. Go back to the beginning here. A lot of exposition to get through in the first, half hour or so of the game. If you want to actually read through the entire book, there's reasonably helpful information in there, but it's 90% just exposition and backstory. So now we really kind of get to the main, like the meat of the game, I guess you could call it, and that is exploring this island and figuring out what to do and how to solve some of these puzzles and figure out where Gehn is, figure out where Catherine is, and figure out how to signal Atrus. I know how to do one of those things off the top of my head, but you don't want to signal Atrus before you've done everything else, because that would be bad. So, yeah. We're just gonna have a look around and see what we can see. There's some writing on the wall there that is illegible. I feel like even if it was legible, it's in a language we don't speak. What does this do? Okay, so this is some of... that's Gehn. And those are his followers, the people who live on Riven, because he has established himself as a god. He's basically saying, I wrote the world that you live in, and you will worship me as the god that I am. Although there is debate over whether or not the people who write the world linking books actually create the worlds that they're linking to, or if they're just creating a portal to worlds that already exist based on the descriptions that the books have. So this is Atrus jumping into the Starfisher with his Myst book and trapping Gehn here, but Gehn is kind of twisting that his telling of that event to be like, yeah, I cast a traitor into hell basically is kind of what he's getting at there. So we're getting a little bit more backstory with these stained glass paintings. So Gehn, while he's been trapped here, has been trying to figure out a way to create more linking books that go anywhere but Riven. So he's had people, chopping down trees and making paper and stuff for him to write on. And apparently he's had very limited success because he is still here. And what's this last? Is this the last one? That was the last one. And then this is the first one, right? Oh no, it's not. Yeah, so there's kind of like this hieroglyphic depiction of a wood shredder, and then turning it into paper and making books, chopping down trees, deforestation. Gehn doesn't even care what he's doing to this world. He just wants more paper for his books so he can get out of here. So, yeah. The god wants paper, we will make paper for him. This door opens somewhere, but not from here. Oh. What does this button do? It rotates the entire room. Oh, well, that's not very helpful. That is indeed the same room, though. If I rotate it again, does it go back the same way? Or does it rotate further and perhaps offer me a new way in? It's another dead end. Do I still see the same thing through the... Well, that door is still closed. I think if I hit the button again, it will return to its original layout. Yeah. No, it's not the same. We can get back in, and we need to figure out how to open this particular door. Well, there was this door down here that seems to be locked at first glance, but I could go under the door. Oh, I see. So... I'm not sure this puzzle is solvable just yet, but... Let's see, if I rotate it again... So that opening will be in front of the gated door that I can't go through yet. So if I go back... Aha, it does come out here. Oh, there's a valve here. Okay. Well, nothing bad ever happened from flipping every random switch you find in a point-and-click adventure game. So we'll just assume that did something. That's that thing we saw at the start. Did that do what I think it just did? I think that opened the door. The gate. Oh my god, we have to wait for this every time. Don't even get to watch it. La-di-da. Yes. But now this door is still closed, so... No, that didn't... Oh, that... So there were two gated off doors that I couldn't go through. I think I just opened them both. Not that I can tell from seeing it here. Lots of back and forth. Okay, so now we're back at the original entrance. So if I just hit that button a couple more times, it should rotate back around and have that door open. God, it's so slow. This is a basic, simple puzzle for the start of the game. So I think once I get this path opened up, we will end the episode there. If I am correct in my assumption that I did what I think I did. Yes! Okay. Cool. So now we can go into this big dome. So I will do that in the next episode. Didn't really get a whole lot done this time around, but, you know, it's the start of the game. There's a lot of exposition, a lot of stuff to go over with before we continue on the adventure. So, next episode I will go into the big dome and see what there is to see there.